Hello, and welcome to our Summer 2023 Tufts Art Pre-College Programs Live Q&A. I'm Lauren Berry, the Associate Director of Tufts University's Pre-College Programs, and along with my colleagues, we're excited to take you through tonight's overview of some of our summer programs. We hope tonight's session will help you learn more about our academically challenging and uniquely rewarding summer programs, including SMFA, Studio Art, and Graphic Design. Not only do we have a lot of great information for you tonight, but we're also looking forward to letting you drive the second half of the session by asking questions of our team members. As we talk through each of the programs tonight, please feel free to enter any questions in the Q&A section, and we'll keep track to make sure we answer all your questions following the overviews. With that, let's get started and meet the rest of the team for tonight's session.
Hi, everyone. My name is Claire Gracia. I'm one of the program administrators for Tufts Pre-College Programs. Nice to meet you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Biggers. I'm the Associate Director at the SMFA, the School of the Museum of Fine Arts. And so I oversee these two wonderful art pre-college programs that we offer and are really looking forward to chatting about what they offer and then hearing from you to answer any questions.
For tonight's agenda, leads for each program will provide an overview of the program itself. We'll then walk you through the application process. We'll end with a live Q&A. Please put any questions you have in the Q&A feature, and we'll answer them during the Q&A portion at the end. First up is our Studio Art program. Take it away, Sarah.
Awesome. So we're kicking it off here with Studio Art, the Studio Art Intensive. This is our hallmark program, which has been around for many years and returned to in-person programming last summer following the pandemic with a really strong group of high school artists. So this program is designed for high school artists who are considering pursuing art as a college major or even as a career path to really help them elevate their practice, refine their techniques, and grow their art portfolio. And as you'll see there on the screen, it runs in the last 3 weeks of July, and it's really an intensive, work-heavy experience with some great opportunities for collaboration and exploration both in Boston and at the Medford-Somerville residential campus. It's taught in a highly collaborative manner, so students will be encouraged to blur the lines between disciplines, and as such, each student is required to take all of the courses listed there. Led by a team of qualified artists and educators, all students will get instruction on advancing technical skills in drawing, painting, sculpture in 3D, and animation. And this really is allowing you to build a portfolio of materially complex and intentional works of art. Students in the program will take trips to local museums, typically the Museum of Fine Arts Boston, the MFA, and the Isabella Stewart Gardner, both of which you can actually see from the front quad of the school. So they're walking field trips. The session concludes with a final exhibition and open studios event for parents, families, and friends to come learn about the artist experience and see their work in their studios. So this is a really great opportunity for high intent, dedicated artists to advance their work. And we've actually just heard from students in last year's program who have been accepted to prestigious, mostly New York City area schools so far, but programs such as Pratt Institute, the New School of Design, and NYU. So far, that's what we've heard from the last group. So from here, I wanted to show you some examples of previous students' artwork just to get an idea of what is created. So here you'll see obviously some of the painting and drawing works. The assignments start with kind of more general, and then they are allowed to let the students really run free and create on a topic that they're interested in. We'll go to the next slide. Here's just some more. So you start to see the 3D and sculpture get introduced. So the middle one there is a wearable art piece, and the one on the right is a sculpture of face masks, which was an interesting play on the pandemic masking world. And then the next one takes a look at just more insights. There's another 3D object there with that head sculpture and just a little bit of the over the shoulder to see what students are creating in the painting studios in particular. Next up, the newer SMFA pre-college program, which is now entering its 3rd year, so it's not so new anymore. But this 1-week graphic design bootcamp is a fully online program designed for all creative types. So those who are intrigued by digital design, those interested in creative writing, or those interested in enhancing their interdisciplinary and communication skills through visuals. So the program takes a unique interdisciplinary approach to graphic design, including aspects of psychology, language, and visual arts into the instruction. The instruction really focuses on translating messages and ideas to digital designs using tools in the Adobe Creative Cloud suite. As students work on their pieces of work, they'll also get a glimpse into the graphic design field as a career path with talks from professional graphic designers and artists alike. Each day in this program has a mix of technical instruction and time for independent and group work time, as well as experiential learning opportunities like those roundtables and artist talks. And the week wraps up at the end on the Friday afternoon with a group review and virtual show, which allows participants to get some vital feedback from their peers, as well as to celebrate their work. And sort of most importantly in this program, the program really works well to connect young creatives across the globe because of the virtual format for a week of growth and creative expression. And so you'll see here some examples of work from previous students. Some of these projects represent what is called a surrealist dreamscape, an altered self-portrait. There's some different ideas there of self-exploration. On the bottom left, there is a logo. So students create a logo using their initials or something about themselves to represent their personal brand. And the middle one there is just a poster of interests and likes designed as obviously a music player. This one represents some infographics. So a lot of graphic design is communication of information, visuals, data. And so these are two different infographics that students use to explore thoughts that they had, explore parts of themselves, and represent them as data on a poster. Moving on to the application process.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. And assuming you haven't already begun your application, we're at the point now where we get into one of our most important steps in our process, getting ready for the application. First things first, you'll head to our application landing page to register for your account. You can find that link on all of our program websites at Apply Now button. When you've registered, you can log into the system and start your application. You'll put in some basic personal info, family information, and then you'll select your program. To supplement your application, you'll be asked to provide contact information for a recommender and a school official who will upload your transcript. Some programs may require additional application materials, such as lab preferences or a brief personal statement, or level of experience in the particular content area. As part of your application, your parents will also need to fill out the parent permission form, and your recommender and school official will be prompted to upload your letter of recommendation and your transcript respectively. Once we've received these materials, we will return your admissions decision within 10 business days. Upon admission, you'll be asked to submit your deposit and some enrollment forms, followed by full payment. And just like that, you'll be ready to study with Tufts. Now I will turn things over to you all, the participants, for our Q&A portion of the evening. I think we have our first question, which is, what are the hours of the program? Sarah, maybe you could explain a little bit about the schedule for both of them.
Absolutely. So starting with the Studio Art program, which is that on-campus intensive 3-week program. So the instructional hours of the program run between 9:30 and 4:30 p.m. And that includes before 9:30, between 8:30 and 9:30 is a time where residential students who are living on campus are taking a shuttle down to the art campus and then back to the dorms at the end of that day. But it's really that solid chunk of 9:30 to 4:30. There's a break in the middle for lunch, and students are rotating through class within that section. And then the graphic design program is somewhat similar. It typically will start at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and that's to try to account for some time differences so that our students on the West Coast in the US are able to join at a somewhat reasonable time in live sessions. And then we've had students who are working internationally and are on totally different time zones, and they've either made their schedule work or they watch recordings back and participate as they can in other digital portions. And those days wrap up, so they start around 10 a.m. and they'll wrap up around 4 p.m.
Thank you, Sarah. So the next question asks, will this presentation be available on video? And the answer is yes. Since you registered for this session, you will be receiving a video recording of it in the next couple of days. So you definitely will get that. And then the next question is, can you talk a little bit about housing? So the studio art program is offered as a residential program or commuter. Graphic design is offered only virtually. So for the studio art program, if you choose to live on campus, you'd be staying in our air-conditioned dorms, which is great because it does get a little warm. And those dorms, they would include a meal plan. You would have access to all of the campus amenities like the gym and the dining hall and the library and things like that. But they are dorm rooms. The next question says, when do you expect to hear back on the application? So once your application is complete and all materials have been submitted, including your transcript, your letter of recommendation, and for studio art, your portfolio that's required, you'll receive an admissions decision within 10 days. This next one I think might be for you, Sarah. For the graphic design program, will it be a primer for Adobe Suite? My student has a lot of experience with it already, so I'd like to know if it will still be challenging.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the program is open to students at all levels, so it doesn't require that you come in with knowledge of Adobe. So it will have some kind of basics of tools and navigation, but we definitely have had in the past students who have already taken courses in various Adobe products. And so they've been fine to jump in and just advance their projects. So taking the same prompt that the class is working on, but work with a classroom assistant who might be more advanced in the software to learn new tools and really just still advance their work using their base knowledge.
Great. So the next two questions also have to do with dorms. So yes, if you were to reside on campus for the studio art program, you would there would be bus service that leaves from the Medford campus every day and takes students to the studio art campus in Boston. Yes. In terms of which dorms, that has not been completely decided, but usually there are these dorms on a quad at the top of the hill, on our campus in Medford. And then how many students are in the studio art classes? There.
So the studio art program is capped at 45 total students, and the students are then broken into groups of 15, but they're not the same groups of 15, so you'll rotate through your classes with a new set of students. So you're getting to participate and be with all different students at different times, but full group 45, individual classroom settings 15.
This one, it says, for the digital program, do I have to have a good knowledge of digital art, or having good knowledge of fine arts is good?
So you don't have to have any prior knowledge, experience, or background in digital art to take the graphic design program. A background knowledge in fine art will be very helpful and will, obviously influence your work in the program. Neither is required, but definitely beneficial if you do have some fine art training.
This next one asks, how many students are in person, which I think we talked about, and then participating online, and how many faculty members are there, and are they all Tufts faculty?
So for the studio art program, everyone is in person, so there's not a hybrid format. So it's that full 45 in person. And then for the graphic design program, I believe we also have about 45 students in that program typically, and those folks are all online. Some are, because of their time zones, maybe not attending in the live synchronous sessions, but they're participating by sharing their work and participating in discussions and whatnot. Each program, the graphic design program, has one faculty member, one program lead, and one classroom assistant. They have all in the past worked for the pre-college programs. In graphic design, they're not a full-time faculty member at Tufts, but they've worked with this program in the past. And typically the classroom assistants are undergraduate students at the SMFA. And then on the studio art side of things, there are 3 instructors, so they each teach their own discipline. So there's a 2D, 3D, and then digital animation instructor. So there's 3 teachers, 1 program lead who has typically a master's degree, and then also 2 or 3 classroom assistants. So there's a lot of hands-on instruction in that program. And typically those folks have also taught at the SMFA for the pre-college programs in the past.
Which building on campus is the program taking place in? For studio art, it would actually be on our SMFA campus in Boston. So they would go each day. They leave from breakfast essentially, and there's a bus that takes them to this Boston campus. This next question is, how competitive is admission and how many students are in the studio art program? I think we addressed the second, but do you want to talk a little bit about competitiveness, Sarah?
Sure, yeah. So we're really lucky that the program has gotten very popular and is really attracting some high level applicants. So we definitely recommend getting your application in as early as possible. We do review applications on a rolling basis. So obviously the sooner you're in, the sooner, if it starts to fill up, the sooner we're able to evaluate your application. And typically, if we have any questions about the portfolio you've submitted, or we'd like to just see some more work, we'll let you know that, and we'll re-review an application with further information about your technical skills in fine arts.
Great. So this next one asks, what does the schedule for weekends look like? And I think, so this was really speaking more to the residential program. So if you're in a commuter program or if you're virtual, there wouldn't be any scheduled activities on the weekends. But if you are residential, our residential staff will plan lots of fun field trips. So there's usually one on each weekend day, and those go to a variety of places around mostly Massachusetts, but some cool places that we've gone before. We've gone to the beach, we go into Boston sometimes. So lots of cool activities, and then some that are offered on campus as well. Does it offer Tufts credits? Are they transferable from this program?
So unfortunately, these programs, because of the intensive format, they're not credit-bearing courses. We do offer in other programs through pre-college individual courses where somebody could come and take, just a class in graphic design or just a drawing class, and those would be available for undergraduate level credit.
For commuting students, where's the drop-off and pickup place? So, Sarah, I think we had two options last year, right?
Yeah, so typically the pickup and drop off just happens right at the SMFA campus. We call it a campus. It's actually just one building, so it's just one kind of pull-up spot right next to the Museum of Fine Arts. Students can also, if it's more convenient to them, and we've been notified ahead of time, can get dropped off on the Medford campus, because there will be that shuttle of the residential students driving down into Boston. So that would be either Medford drop-off pickup or the SMFA Boston campus.
Great. So this next one says, should we purchase the Adobe Suite prior to the program start for graphic design?
So you do not need to. The price of a short license for the full Adobe Suite is part of the tuition for the graphic design program. I will say it is a short license, so it expires, I think, a few weeks after the program ends. So if you intended to study far beyond that and use the Adobe Suite, or you wanted to start before the program, you might want to look into getting your own license, but it's not required that you provide your own license before the program.
Great, thank you. And how many pieces should be submitted for the portfolio when applying for the studio art program?
It's a great question. The minimum is 3 that you have to submit to apply. I recommend going above that. As someone who reviews applications, it's really helpful to see a wide array and variety and breadth of your work. And I'd also say to keep in mind, don't shy away from submitting drafts of things, sketchbooks, anything that shows your creative process and your exploration into different mediums is really helpful for us. And one big key I would say with the portfolio is making sure that it's representative of a variety of mediums and types of work. And of course, if you haven't had a chance to be exposed to some of these in your high school, that's definitely okay. But what we like to see is, sometimes we'll see a portfolio that's all digital work or all digital drawings or paintings, and then we don't really get a sense of what that looks like in, a sketch, draft, or drawing or painting. So if you have the opportunity, definitely shoot for sending us more rather than less.
I think this is a good segue into this next question, which is, should students have experience in all 3 categories of art, 2D, 3D, and animation to apply?
Yeah, another great question. It's not required. We definitely understand that art programs across the country and across the world are vastly different and teach different things. I will say most of our students come in not having ever experienced animation. That one is just new to folks, so that is usually tailored to understand that being our audience. So definitely not required there. Typically, if a student is getting into the program, they've been exposed to 2D and 3D works. It doesn't mean that they've had to have experience in all different types of oil paints and gouache and all of these different topics, but you know, that they've done some basic fundamentals and foundations of drawing. The painting class will also teach, you know, color mixing and foundational skill sets, and then build upon that. So not required, but 2D, 3D is usually where you'll want to have had experience.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. It says, could you share how many opens left now for the graphic? Oh, I think this is asking how many seats we have still available for graphic design. I think we have a good number still available. So if you get started on your application now, I think you should be okay. We've got this one that says, how many examples of graphic design should be submitted with the application?
Yeah, the graphic design application doesn't require a portfolio because it's not required that students come in with some foundational experience in art making. Students can upload if they'd like to, so that's the same thing if they want to upload at least 3 images, we'd be happy to review those.
And then how many seats are still available for studio art? Sarah, do you know?
Studio art, I don't know off the top of my head. I do know studio art tends to fill up quicker and is a little bit more competitive to get into in terms of making sure you have your seat there. So definitely recommend applying. There are still open seats for sure. So, you know, get your application in sooner rather than later for a shot at those.
Changing gears a little bit, it says, can you talk about transportation to and from the airport? Yes. So as long as students are arriving to the airport on our arrival day, which is the Sunday of program start between 9 and 5, we will provide a shuttle that will run from Logan Airport to the Medford campus. So we would share information as we get closer about what the shuttle times are, and students can get on the shuttle. There will be staff there wearing staff t-shirts, and they will bring students to the Medford campus. This says, what age range are the graphic design students in the pre-college program?
So this would apply for all of our programs. The age range is 15 to, is it 18 or 19?
In graphic design, it's more by grade level. So
okay.
I think it's entering 10th to graduated 12th, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So for the virtual program, it's less by age and more by grade level. And how much do the art courses previously taken stated in the application matter?
We're definitely reviewing everything holistically. So what we're looking at for, you know, applicability of skill set is a combination of things. It's really the artist statement that's really important to convey, and for us to understand how someone thinks about their art making and what concepts they're weaving into their work, and who has inspired them as an artist. So that's one piece. Then obviously the portfolio is a really big one, because that's where we can really see what somebody has done and what skill set they already have or what they're developing and working on. So it's less important what classes they've taken. If they have a really strong portfolio and don't list any classes, that's fine. We don't require that the classes, you know, the artworks came from somebody taking classes, but we do definitely look at those list of art classes. So it's really those 3 things: the artist statement, the portfolio, and the list of art classes, but really looked at all holistically.
Thank you, everyone. All right. I think that might be it. So thank you all again for joining us and for all of your great questions. And as always, if you think of anything after this call, you can always contact us here. And please follow us on your favorite social media channels and stay up to date with what's new with pre-college programs at Tufts. Thank you to everyone for joining tonight. We're looking forward to hopefully meeting you all on campus or virtually this summer.